Hey there. So I'm Rebecca Zung and welcome to my channel. And I want to share something with you today that I normally don't share. And I think, it's just sort of me talking to you guys who are here, my subscribers, my community, and telling you my own story of bullying. And I think it's really important for you to understand because it really was a good lesson for me and it brought me to where I am today and why I have such a personal feeling and mission and crusade to help people to save people from narcissists and to use my background and my skills as a negotiator to teach people how to effectively work with narcissists and either escape them if you're in a personal relationship or get them to yes, get them to close deals if you're in a business relationship, or how to walk away if that's what you want to do. But all of that really stems from my own personal background. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you so that you can understand where I'm coming from with it. And this is not something that I go around talking about. I mean, it was like kind of a source of shame for me for a while, the fact that I was bullied as a child, because as a child you start to think there's something inherently wrong with you. And so for me to get to this point of being able to have a conversation and talk about it with people and then here put it on my YouTube channel is a really, really big deal for me. So I don't normally walk around talking about it, but I really think it's important, and hopefully it'll help you guys, and hopefully it will inspire you as well. So I was born to an Asian father. My father's Chinese. My mom has a German background, but her family was in this country for a while. So my dad was really from China. So he was a doctor and really wonderful dad. My mom was a nurse initially, and then she ended up going into business and she had her own real estate company. And as a child, I felt extremely different growing up. And I went to school in the 70s and the 80s. And during that time, there weren't really a lot of mixed children. When my parents went to go get married in the 60s, it wasn't even legal still in the state of Virginia where we lived because they were of different races. So they got married in DC. I grew up in the DC area, but that was something they had to live with right from the beginning. There was this problem, because they were of different races. So I grew up half Asian. And on top of that, my mother was not, the traditional mom. She wasn't at home, baking cookies or doing whatever moms did in those days. And so, for a lot of reasons, I just always felt different. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just explaining why I felt different. And my parents didn't really have like the most cohesive, greatest marriage. They ended up getting divorced when I was 14, but there was a lot of years leading up to that. So, I just felt very different. We lived in kind of a bigger house, which made me feel different than other people as well. And there were times then when I would have friends, but then, it didn't really stick. I felt like everybody else had these friend groups that I didn't necessarily have. And it was just in my mind, I was not like them. And I'm sure I probably brought a lot of it on to myself looking back, but I didn't realize that at the time. At the time, I think I was just trying to like protect myself. So, but anyway, I started being bullied when I was in elementary school. I think mostly for being Chinese. They would ask me what my middle name is, which happens to be Yukong. And they would say, "What's your middle name? Is it King Kong?" And, things like that. And I just so wanted to have like a middle name like Marie or Anne, like everybody else did. But now, of course, I love my middle name. It was my grandmother's name. There's like so much that went into the choice of my name. But I didn't appreciate that at the time. And I certainly didn't like it. I just wanted to be like everybody else, just like all kids do. And so, I finished elementary school in sixth grade. I go to a junior high school. The bullying starts again. In fact, I have right in my yearbook, there's a girl who signed the yearbook. Oh, nice knowing you this year. And by the way, but meaning to ask you if you have any chink blood in you, written right in my yearbook. And then so I went to a different middle school for eighth grade, and there it happened again. And, I would walk by and these girls would say, Hayata, Hayata, like some Japanese thing, which I'm not even Japanese, but, that sort of thing. So I went to an all girls boarding school for high school, and it really ended up being the best thing for me because I finally started to get some self-esteem. I did well in school, and that helped me to gain some self-esteem. I graduated second in my class from high school. I had friends in high school, a lot of friends. And so it started to turn around for me there. But, I still never felt super comfortable in groups of my peers. And so, I think that's part of why I dropped out of college when I was 19 and I got married and had three children by the time I was 23. It just, because I always felt different. I always felt sort of like the outside looking in. And it was a way for me to escape having to be in groups of peers where I didn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't have been able to articulate this at the time. At the time I would have said, I don't know, I just wanted to get married or whatever it was. I'm sure it was all subconscious at the time. But then, we moved to Florida, and I had these three children. I started teaching. I was teaching inner city schools, and the marriage was not working. So, I ended up getting divorced, and I decided to go back to law school because I really just wanted to put a roof over my kids' head and feed them. So I ended up doing well in law school, which I always say that the reason why I did well is because I was so afraid I was going to have to pay back my student loans on a teacher's salary. But, partially because I had a very Chinese upbringing. Plus, my mom's German, and her side of the family is also very accomplished. So I think part of it was this family pressure as well. So anyway, I finished law school. I get a job with a family law attorney, and I come up through the ranks there. And as I gain more success as an attorney, and I'm dealing with it all in therapy and all the things, I start to really heal myself. And I've read tons and tons of books, and I've attended lots and lots of seminars. I was a student of Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williamson and all of these people. Gary Zukav was huge for me. And all of those things taken together allowed me to really heal. And then I started my own law practice. I had a business coach who's really kind of also a life coach, but she's really, she was, taught at Landmark Forum for 20 years, and she's certified in ontology and all these things. But I really hired her for my business. But you can't be super successful in business if you still have your own psychological blocks, right? So she helped remove those as well. And I really felt like I had healed. I got to a place maybe 15 years ago where I started to make some really wonderful friends that I still have today. I have the best, literally the best women friends on the planet. Wonderful, wonderful life, friends, relationships. Well, a few years ago, my husband decides he wants to spend more time in California. So I'm splitting my time between California and Florida. I come to California, I'm starting new things. I'm in a vulnerable position. I feel like all is well. I've kind of been lulled into thinking like that I'm good now. Like the people I attract into my life are awesome. And I end up getting targeted by a covert narcissist, a female who wanted to do some business endeavors with me. And I went ahead and agreed to it because I was at that place in my life. This was a person I barely knew, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And, the old story of the camel under the tent, where it's like the story is where the sheik and or Bedouin, whatever, they're out in the desert with the camel and they stop for the night, and the camel sticks his nose under the tent. And he's like, please, sir, it's so cold out here. Could I just keep my nose under the tent? And then the next thing you know, the head is under the tent and the camel saying, please, sir, I'll just leave my head under it. That's all. I mean, it's not going to bother you. You have plenty of room in here. I'll just put my head in. And of course, as it goes, like the camel ends up basically in the guy's bed and he can't get him out of the tent. And that's basically what happened to me with this particular person. It was like so horrible. And I can't even describe how traumatic it was. And it wasn't until I picked up the book, The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist, which I've talked about in some of my other videos. And you can go check out that video if you want. It's called The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist, that I really started to realize what the hell was going on. And not only did I realize that that person was targeting me and was a narcissist, I realized that there was a second person in my family, and that was what was going on. And it was like, it literally changed my life and changed my world. So I started to talk about all this stuff, narcissism, and I realized, I'd been talking about negotiation for years. I wrote a book on it. Robert Shapiro wrote the foreword. It's called Negotiate Like You Matter. I've spoken all over the country. I was a keynote speaker for an American Bar Association event. I really know negotiation, but really learning about narcissism is what allowed me to start understanding how to apply what I knew about negotiation to what I learned about narcissism so that I could actually start seeing forward momentum for my clients and my cases. And so that's what I started doing. And I get into the narcissism world and I start meeting other influencers in the narcissism world. And I'm super excited about that. And then I start to realize that some of these people are also very broken, and that's why they ended up here. And here I find myself sort of being bullied by these people once again because they're jealous. They don't want other people in the space or whatever it is. And I found myself really re-experiencing between these two narcissists and then what happened in this narcissism community, feeling like all these old feelings of being bullied were coming back to me. And it really kind of wobbled me for a while. So I go back to my business coach and we have a few sessions. And basically what she said to me was, it's not what they're saying, because people are going to say things, especially you're out in the public eye, you're doing things, people are going to say things. That's fine. But it's how it lands for you. If somebody called you a banana, you wouldn't think anything of it. You'd just be like, okay, whatever, you're crazy. But if people say things that you feel, you're exposed on, that are unhealed within you, then it's going to strike a chord. It's going to strike a nerve, and you're going to feel that exposure again, that, whatever neuronal pattern was formed when you were a child that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, there's something wrong with me. Hey, if you're a human being, you've got it. We all do. We've all had it. And honestly, I think a lot of what drove me to be such a successful attorney was proving that I'm worthy, proving that I'm valuable, proving to the world that I'm supposed to be here. And now I've shifted. I mean, I understand that there are broken people in the world, and people are going to do and say things based on their own problems and their own stuff that they need to have healed. I can't control that. The old 3 C's: I didn't cause it, I can't control it, I can't cure it. And so, just that's really been helpful to me to understand that. I want you to understand that when you are negotiating with people, not just in actual negotiations, but when you're dealing or managing people at all, having confidence and really understanding that you can tell people to think what you want them to think. I think a lot of times people are going to be intimidated just because you have confidence, just because you are okay. That does not mean that you should shrink from your light. That just means that those are not the people that get to be in your space. So I would just say to you, stop trying to make not your people, because those are just not your people. And that's completely okay. I love the quote from Rumi that says, set your life on fire, seek those who fan your flames. Yeah. I mean, the people who are in my space, they fan my flames. And I know, I mean, when I spoke to Bob Proctor, I have that interview, you can go check it out. And he said, you are a product of the top 5 people you are closest to. You want to know where you stand vibrationally? Take a look around. And, so there should be a huge price to pay for being in your space. People don't get to be in my space unless they are, you know, eh, 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 raising my vibrational level and me doing the same for them. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I mean, why allow people in your space who are going to bring you down? So I want you to remember that you are valuable, you are worthy, you are unique. It's okay to be confident. It's okay to be the light. And the final thing I want to say to you is defend your light with your life. If people are not treating you well, then namaste and walk away. Defend your light with your life. I'm Rebecca Zung, and thanks so much for listening to my story of bullying and how it actually helped me, how it actually changed my life. If something happens to you and it's, crap comes your way, you got to learn from it. Otherwise, it's just crap that happened to you, and that's unacceptable, right? So I've learned from it. I've grown from it. I've become a way better person as a result. And now I help people all over the world with this YouTube channel and with my free resources and my other resources. And that's why I do what I do. So remember, namaste and walk away and defend your light with your life.